Castle Rock Season 2, Episode 9. We only got one episode left. Man, if I think back to where I was on Episode 9 of Season 1, as far as like my emotional investment and my excitement and my interest in the show, I was definitely into it. No doubt about it, because there was a lot set up for that finale, and then I wasn't a huge fan of how that all played out in the finale, but I was definitely into it. But not like this season. This season has me invested. Holy shit. What a fantastic episode. Yet again, they are just crushing it one after the other after the other. So much fantastic stuff going on in this episode. Wow, what a superior season, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel, but I just feel like this is superior in pretty much every way. I can't really think of anything in this season that doesn't top last season. So, man, kudos to the writers, kudos to everyone involved, the actors, everyone behind the scenes, because, wow, I'm so invested and I cannot wait for the season finale next week. So, we got lots of connections to Season 1. At first, we didn't even know how much, or if at all, this would connect to Season 1. And as it progressed, it was like, all right, they're kind of giving subtle hints. They're not in this way. They're showing this, and it's like, okay, subtle connections, that's fine. Then there was some more major ones, and then obviously with the boy reveal, it was like, oh wow, this is really connected to Season 1. And someone just asked me today if Season 1 was necessary, and it's like, well, it's funny that you ask now, because if you had asked 5 weeks ago, I would have been like, no, I don't think so. I mean, you would miss little like nods and little homages and stuff and little teeny connections, but now now that I know where everything's heading and where everything's went, absolutely. I mean, would it be absolutely necessary to get everything that's going on? Not really. Not exactly, but you should. The connection's strong at this point. So I have to say, yes, it's imperative to watch the first season. And I'm really hoping that this season's closeout actually gives a little bit more to Season 1, since I felt like the end of Season 1, which I thought was the end of that story, period, done, over, next season, that was coming this season, would be completely disconnected and we'd never even hear anything more about it. I'm just hoping that, when that had ended, I was just like, oh, that was a bummer. So this could really add to it, and it looks like it is. It's kind of giving us much more of insight on the boy and what he is, and they're calling him an angel and all this, so we definitely know much more of what's going on. We're still, of course, left in the dark, and it's open for interpretation, but at least we're getting more pieces to the puzzle. All right, so we've got Pops grabbing Nadia right out of the hospital there, and then Chance shows up on her motorcycle. Of course, this is a little convenient that all these characters came together in this moment, but hey, whatever. It's good for the show. Move things along. Let's go. They're racing down. They kind of get caught in the crossfire. They're in a big shootout. A lot of action in this episode. The rest of this season, for the most part, has been not slow, because I've never been bored with a single second of this season, but just slower paced. And more drama, which is fine. It's a great drama. But man, this is like, not like a John Wick movie or anything, over the top action like that, but damn, man, a lot of shootouts, a lot of gunplay. And that surprised me, but it was all really well done, and no complaints here. So we get the shootout under the bridge, and then boom, like a badass, Abdi comes in. Yes, yet another thing, convenience. He just so happened to grab a truck, drive it down. They didn't see it. This big loud truck coming right at him, hitting. I don't care about any of that. Like, you could nitpick and be like, well, how did he find a truck? How was he right there in that moment? And like, my brain goes in those places pretty much anytime I see anything in movies, TV shows, whatnot. But there's things that I'm willing to look past depending on how they're presented. And in this case, because I know we need to move things along, because I know we need to get these characters together, as long as it's not overly eye-rolling convenient, I don't mind. As long as it's not like a blatant disregard for the audience's intelligence, it's like, okay, Abdi had a truck and he smashed it, and fine. It was a badass sequence. It was like, hell yeah, it happens in every action movie you've ever watched in your entire life. Where it's just like a very convenient moment where this person just so happens to be there. So yeah, I think there would be some eye rolls and some like people yelling at the screen, "Oh, how convenient!" But they just need to lighten up and enjoy the ride, because they get together. And you want to talk about a really quick way to kind of bury family drama, because everyone's kind of at odds with one another. Abdi, Nadia, Pops, all of them. And a huge event like this kind of puts things into perspective. While what Pops did was, obviously terrible, this made them kind of make amends instantly, because they had to work together. And if you ever got some problems going on, some major event, some catastrophe is going to make you realize how insignificant that shit is when something really real happens. Anyway, all right. So then they go over to to Pop's shop there, and Annie shows up. Annie shows up with a couple people, and right off the bat, I was thinking, all right, either they're both cannon fodder, to have once Ace's guys come for them, they'll just have a couple people to kill off, or one of them is like a spy and infiltrator. And I kind of, I got that right. It was just like, yeah, one's an infiltrator and one's just kind of meat for the fire. So, but good stuff. I mean, all around. And Annie in this, she's kind of, in the last couple episodes, I feel like she's kind of fallen into a secondary character, which is okay, because it kind of reminds me of something, and this is faster paced as this transition has went. It kind of reminds me of like Orange is the New Black, where Piper's character was the main central focus of the show for the first season or two. And then as the show grew and the characters became more and more likable, more and more iconic, more and more their own thing, they started to get more screen time. And then Piper just started getting less and less and less. And then she just became one of the many characters in the show, and it wasn't really her show anymore. Even though, yes, the central focus of the narrative did play around Piper's story, the amount of screen time and the amount of other stories that were going on around her, it all kind of just condensed itself into a smaller package so that we could explore more in the show. And that's kind of what it feels like here, where Annie has dropped into just being one of the many characters in this show. You've got a lot more focus on the Nadia, Pops, and Abdi storyline here. What's going on with Ace, obviously, what's going on with Joy and Chance and their relationship and everything. And I don't feel like the show is as focused on Annie as it was maybe in the first couple episodes, where it was absolutely her show and then everything else was secondary. Now it's just like she's one more character amongst a wider array of characters, which is fine, as I said, because I wouldn't want, as grand as this is becoming, with an entire town being taken over like this, I wouldn't want to focus just on her, because there's so many pieces moving right now, and the way they're kind of clicking together is been fantastic. So good on them for doing that and transitioning pretty quickly into making her more into just, she's not a secondary character. There really is no primary character right now, which I think a lot of the best shows do. Kind of like a Game of Thrones, where there's never a real main character of the show. Like, there's 30 freaking characters at any given time, and who knows which one's going to get the most screen time during each episode. That I like, because that then takes the focus off of their inability to perish or have something happen to them that you would never expect having them be a main character. Like when you watch 24 or something, you know Jack Bauer's not going to die. He just can't because of how the show is. It's set up around him. Without him, it's nothing, you know? And shows like this, once they start to branch off and they bring more characters and they give less and less screen time to people, it's like they could kill anybody. And that's a great way to be. But that all being said, I mean, they're not going to kill Annie until the last episode if they kill her at all. But you know what I'm saying. Anyways, moving on. And then Pop's one freaking paranoid dude to have all those makeshift bombs in his building just waiting on the ready at any time. He's like that freaking kook who has like a bomb shelter and everything ready for doomsday at any moment, which isn't a terrible thing, but at the same time, it's just kind of how we view them. Like, oh, nutty, this guy's a nutcase. But hey, that's the kind of guy you want to run into in a situation like this. Some dude who has all the guns and all the bombs and everything. When society is together, it's always that saying of like, I would rather be prepared and not need it than need it and not be prepared, right? That's him. He's prepped. He's a doomsday prepper. He knows someone's eventually coming from him because of all of his illegal activities and all the shit he's done in his life, and boom, he's got tons of bombs going, which I just thought was funny. Then he has a talk with Annie, which I thought was a great exchange because every interaction between them was fantastic, and they're such great actors the way they're playing off of each other. But like Annie's admittance to a couple things in this were just kind of very telling of her mindset in the moment. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm done playing. I'm done pretending. That girl that I was before, that woman I was before, who was putting on an act. Like, for one, I'm not mentally stable enough to even put on that persona anymore, but I've had it. I want my daughter. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks, what anyone has to say. She is just like straight up freaking gangster in this episode. She's, how'd you get out of there? I killed some people. Well, how'd you get through there? I killed some more people. Well, what happened, with Ace? Blah, blah, blah. I killed Ace, just like you thought. I killed him, and I tried to dispose of his body. And it's a great exchange because she's essentially like being like, look, I murdered your nephew. He's just so stone cold about it. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm just telling him I'm here to report the facts, and I want my daughter. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't have time for this. Like, what do you want to know? I need to go. And that's, of course, when he starts to learn of the plan and of what they're doing and how it all came to pass, how Ace was turned, and good stuff, man. Very, very subtle, but at the same time, really, really well structured. So I was really impressed with all that. This whole episode, this whole season has just been fantastic. We also get more insight onto how the bodies repair themselves after death, because we get Warden Lacey's his wife, or whoever that chick is. I think it's his wife. But anyway, she was blind, and then she was brought back, and now she can see. And then when Pop goes and talks to that dude who he knew because he was the guy giving him his chemo, he was like, where's the earring? It felt like the Thing prequel. Where's your earring? And he's like, there's not even a scar anymore. So this completely regenerates your body to whatever age it is. It's not going to repair it back to when it was like 20, but it will repair any damage that had occurred over your life, fixing Pop's cancer, obviously, is what's going to happen with that. This guy's scar tissue. Now, if it's fixing scar tissue, would you have tattoos when you came out? That's what I'm really curious about. That I'm really curious about if people would continue to, like, would they wake up with their tattoos? Would it push the ink out and the scar tissue and all of that? Because if that guy's ear healed up and there's no scar tissue, there's no hole, there's no nothing where that used to be, would it push tattoos out? And would that be an easy tell? Kind of like a thing, like going back to the Thing yet again, would that be like a test? Like, If you knew they had a tattoo, you go look for it. And you're like, you don't have that anymore. Obviously, you've been turned. And plus, like, I feel like this yet again shows more into the fact that they not only have the memories of who they once were, but they're able to tap into the memories of who they once were. Or wait, did I just say that? Who the body belonged to. They seem to be able to tap into their psyche and their knowledge, as well as having their own from before. And that's kind of the primary source, like the primary driving force of the consciousness. They're able to control the body, but at the same time, they're able to draw from the memory banks of the previous owner of the body. And that is more and more apparent because obviously they know English, Ace knows who Pops is and knows everyone in town. Like, obviously there's more in this and that. But when they were raiding the place, they were all using guns. And I was like, there wasn't no guns back when where they came from. They wouldn't even know what the hell a gun was. So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, they really seem to have a pretty good ability to tap into, as I said, the previous tenant of the body, which is a really weird way to put your consciousness, your soul, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, when they were raiding the place, I just kept thinking, like, they know how to use guns? And like, oh, they would. So like, how much of that person and is in there, and how conscious are they? That's something I talked about in the last one. Like, how conscious is the person inside? Because you know that when they get shot up with Haldol, they're still in there. So are they just, a voyeur? Are they just sitting behind their eyes, just watching this all go down? It's a wild thought. And if they continue to do this for years and years and years to come, these people are just going to have to watch life imprisoned, kind of like the boy. Anyway. Oh man, Annie goes. Now, I thought this was kind of a missed opportunity. On the poster for this show, you have Annie Wilkes with an axe. And we all know from the Misery movie, where she hobbles Paul Sheldon, in the movie, it's her taking like a big sledgehammer and knocking his ankles. And in the book, we know that she lops off one of his feet with an axe, his left foot, and then like blow torches it to close it up, cauterize it. And I thought when this guy was chained to the bed, kind of like Paul Sheldon, and she was going around and she picked up a mallet, I thought this was going to be a great moment of like calling back to where the change of the sledgehammer was to the axe. I thought she was going to pick up the sledgehammer and be like, no, like this doesn't feel right. Homage, wink to the movie. We're going to do it how it happened in the book. I thought she was going to put it down, pick up an axe, and then lop off his left foot. That would have been badass. It would have been the perfect homage, like a wink to the movie and then play it exactly how it happens in the book. Like, how badass would that have been? So I feel like that's a little bit of a missed opportunity. So I was really excited when it was happening. I was like, oh, here we go. She's going to pick up the axe. And then she picks up the hypodermic needles and she shoves them in the dude's eyes like freaking Michael Myers in Halloween 2 on Dr. Mixter. And which was great. I mean, it's a great sequence and it's brutal, and Annie's completely lost her mind, and they grab her and they pull her out of the room. So it is a good sequence. I just felt like, and that's my own desires kind of getting the best of me, I suppose. But that all being said, I did think it was a little bit of a missed opportunity. Anybody else there with me on that? I don't know. Anyway. And so Ace wants the letters, and Pops is like, I burned them, which he hadn't at that point. I guess he was just kind of trying to test him. Like, does he care? Does he want them? And once he finds out, yeah, he can tell by the long pause, and we can kind of see it on his face of like, oh shit, this really. Now, of course, Pops can't see his face, but we know, and he knows from the pause and all that. Like, I don't really care. And he kind of tells him his plan, like, I'm coming to get you. Like, we'll get the memories out of your head, which yet again further illustrates how they can draw from your memory. when they're in there. So, yeah, he burns the notes, and then we know the plan is that he needs those letters to try to find the boy, because he clearly has no idea where he is or what's going on there, but he needs to know. Now, another thing, this is real quick, silly, this is like nitpicky, and I'm not really giving this like a thumbs down or anything in the show. I'm so used to it by now, but why are guns, like shotguns, never pre-cocked? I've talked about this before, but it always drives me nuts. Like, they're going around in close quarters, and if anything jumps out, they're supposed to pull the trigger and kill them, right? So why in the moments when they're going around with a shotgun do they see somebody and then they cock the shotgun and then fire? Why isn't that thing already been cocked? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Every other gun they have the hammer pulled back, it's at the ready. But if you have to like do the cocking motion, that's going to cost you a full second. If someone jumps out at you, you don't have that extra time to cock the gun. So it always drives me nuts in these shows where I'm like, why is that not? I get it. It's for an added like, it's like badass to see someone cock a gun. It's like they mean business and whatnot. But it's still stupid to me. Like, shoot the gun and then cock. Then you can see the cock. I don't know. It's always annoyed me, and then when I saw it here, I was like, why was that not pre-cocked? That doesn't make any sense. And yeah, then the other chick obviously becomes cannon fodder. As I said, she just takes a bullet randomly. She's like nobody. It's like, okay, but bye, girl. We don't know, but someone had to die, right? Otherwise, there would be no, price they paid or whatnot. So there you go. Pop's asking them, essentially, he goes to Abdi and he's like, was I a bad parent? Essentially. And he's like, yeah, you fucked us up. That's tough, man. That's a tough sequence because as a parent, we definitely think of that. And I've had that experience myself where my mother has come to me and said, I was a good mom, right? And it's like, no, you were not. And just that absolute disappointment in their face. And being on this side of it, I don't really care because I'm like, you weren't a good parent. Like, I don't know what to tell you here. But like on this side of things, on now being the parent on this side of things, now I worry even more because I've had to be the kid who tells the parent that they sucked as a parent and that they fucked me all up. And now I'm like trying to overextend, my parenting. I'm trying to outdo anything I would have previously wanted to do because I want to make sure that these kids never tell me that. I couldn't take it. I would be just devastated if my kids were like, no, Dad, you were just awful. Like, oh my God, that's so horrible. So like, I feel for Pops in this moment because he really did try to make everything right. It was more of an accident. But then he tells him, like, you beat the shit out of me. And now, it's a different generation, and I know some people nowadays would be like, there's no excuse for that and this and that, but, I mean, I don't know. Parents were much more aggressive back then. I don't know if it excuses it, but at the same time, like, people spanked kids. People knocked kids around a little bit. It's not a good thing. It's just, you got to remember the product of the times. Yes, there was plenty of parents who didn't do it. As I said, I'm not excusing it. And it is wrong. But it was the way he did things. And I understand that his intentions were that he wanted them to be better kids. He wanted to protect them. He wanted them to be strong. He wanted them to be disciplined. It's a tough one. Anyway, let's not get too much into that. But it touched me, obviously, in a very sensitive spot. And so I thought I'd talk about it. Anyway, moving on. Woe is me. And I already talked about all that. And then the whole he tries to blow them up thing. I thought that was great. Like, he rigs himself up, and I was like, oh shit, how's this gonna go down? And I was like, oh, please don't talk him out of it. That would be so dumb. That would be so against Pop's character. Don't do that. Please don't do that. And I love the discussion. I love everything that's going on between them. And then he's like, he goes to push it, and Ace is like, no! Like, he knows, like, because he tells him, you ain't coming back from this. Like, when you die, you're dead. Like, this isn't gonna be they just scoop you up and then pop you into another body. Like, you can't just transition easily. Like, there's much more to it than that. And he's like, I'll take you and me. I'm dying anyways. What do I give a shit? Like, I'm ending this right now. And he presses the button. And I was like, oh shit, he's actually and then it just has a faulty mechanism or whatnot. And then he shoots him, and of course is going to take his body. I didn't know there was any bodies left or any souls left to take over. Wouldn't that be funny if he put like his wife, his girlfriend in there? She's like, what is this body? What have you done to me? I'd be curious, like, does it have to be the same sex? I don't think so. We had that in this episode? I don't think we've had that in this season, but like, you know, you'd have to find. I'm assuming. Wait, I don't think so. Maybe I'm mixing something up because I'm thinking. Wait, has this been addressed in this season or no? Fuck. Now, I just watched a movie where they did this the other day or a week ago or something, where they switched bodies and someone was in a male body versus a female body. Like, they were in a female body, then they switched to a male body. Shit. That wasn't the show. No, it was a different movie. See, I watched too much stuff. And I'm like, looking back, I mean, I watched the first episode, 9 weeks ago? So, no, it wasn't this. But yeah, that'd be funny. She wakes up in Bob's body and is like, what the fuck? No. Anyway, and then the train at the end, didn't Nadia say, like, we have 30 minutes? 30 minutes? There ain't no train that's 30 minutes long. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've lived around train tracks, and that train comes by, and yeah, it's a while. Ain't no 30 minutes. But they're like sitting there, like when the train comes, and they could have shot them underneath, like they could have shot their legs out. But regardless, they're sitting there waiting for the train to pass. And they're just sitting there, and she's like looking at her phone and shit, or the radio, or whatever it was. Yeah, radio. And I'm just like, run. Like, what are you doing? But she said 30 minutes in the house. 30 minutes? There ain't no 30-minute train. Am I wrong on this? Are there places where there's 30 minutes long of a train? Holy shit. That is one long train. I can't even imagine. I mean, the speed they're going, the thing would have to be miles long. Like, 30 minutes? No way. It's impossible, right? So I thought that number was out of control. I've seen trains, they last like 2-3 minutes, maybe 5 at best. 30? No way. Anyway, yeah, looking forward to the next episode. Good stuff. I can't wait to see where this all heads. I'm still hoping that Rita's gonna be the person, but I'm assuming that Joy will be the vessel. And Rita's just gone. Like, I don't see, at this point, with only one episode left, I can't imagine them. I thought that if we saw anything from Rita, it would be in this episode. It's just too quick at this point to be able to pull her into this. So I guess I was wrong about the Rita thing, unless they pull off something in the last episode, but I doubt it. So I would assume that Joy will be taken over, and then Annie was going to have to choose of how to deal with the fact that her daughter is gone. Maybe there's some way to break the curse and free the souls, and everyone in the town will get to live. I don't know. We shall see, but I'm looking forward to the next episode. But we did get to see Pops stick the drugs in himself. So he's going to reject. So when he comes out of it, for the first couple minutes, he's going to have the ability to not be possessed, or whatever you want to call it. So I'll be very curious on what that goes. I don't know if people missed that, or like, well, not that they missed it, but they'll forget about it in the next episode. But yeah, he clearly gave himself the Haldol, and he's gonna be able to reject some of it in the very opening minutes of him coming out. So we'll see what he does with those precious minutes he has. Anyways, guys, this was a really, really long breakdown, but man, what a fantastic episode, and see you next week.